Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys for another show, for another episode of our Raw Reaction series, straight after Arsenal have beaten Millwall 4-1 in a pre-season friendly in a game that, this one clearly matters. Obviously, this is the one that we all cared about. The other two, Hibs, Rangers, they're just fitness. That's all they were. This was crucial, and we got the 3 points. I'm, of course, being a little bit satirical there. It is obviously another pre-season fixture, which is really good to get a run out for the boys and see them get minutes in the legs, especially for some players that are most likely going to be starting in less than now 3 weeks' time, because that Premier League season is coming around very, very quickly. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. Chat box. I hope that you are well and doing good. I said I'd give you another show today, and this was a kind of an impromptu one. We only found out this morning that this game was going to be taking place, and whilst it took place earlier on, this is not straight after the actual game. In reality, Arsenal decided to stream the behind closed doors fixture, which is not something they typically do. Obviously, we were meant to be playing against Inter Milan in Florida, but this is kind of what they've done to fill that gap and to kind of keep the fitness going and keep the preparations flowing as well. I don't know why the microphone is not working again. This is really annoying. It gets every single time I do this, there's something wrong. I try and change things. I try and make things better for you. But it's not working for me, which is a real big shame. Let me try and just tweak a couple of things whilst I'm talking through. Let me know in the chat box, though, what's been going on, because I'm tugging at things and they're just not working. I don't know what. I can't get to it. I'm hoping that you can hear me much, much better now, or in some way, shape or form, you can hear me a lot better now. Let's go to, wow, it says Alba was dodgy again. Do we agree with this? Do we think that Alba was dodgy in the game? I thought he was better in this game than he has been in all of the kind of other fixtures that we've seen so far. And when we're talking about a player that's ultimately had a very big off-season and he's struggled in certain fixtures and certain games, I just feel, in my view anyway, I very much feel that he is someone that's going to take a little bit of time to get back up to speed. And when he is going to get a lot better, then what did I say? Did I say something? Did I say something wrong in the chat? Let me know. Anyway, I'm going to have to go watch this back live and now and be like, why did you say that? I'm with the mic issues. I might as well just start this show entirely again at this stage. I'm actually tempted to do that now because of how bad the mic was at the beginning. Tono says, how was Lokonga? Lokonga looked really good. Oh, okay, yes, I'm tugging at the microphone, guys. Let's keep a bit level-headed. Come on. Jesus Christ. That's going to get clipped. That's so going on with social media. Absolutely, because you just don't escape things like that whatsoever. Thank you so much, guys, for appreciating just, words being spoken. Lokonga, in terms of how his performance was, he came on in the second half for playing, obviously, for Mohamed El Neni. And also, I thought was pretty decent in the first half too, and is showing that he deserves a place in the squad in regards to his utility. And I'm fine. It's fine for depth, but he's obviously not going to be near the starting lineup. But in regards to kind of what Lokonga is going to give us, he is ultimately a depth option right now. And we're hoping that Arsenal are going to go into the season and they're going to add a proper centre midfielder that's going to give us that amount of quality that we need to start alongside Partey. If we aren't able to do that, then the pressure's going to be on Lokonga to play more games than necessarily we may have probably thought he would have been playing at the start of when he signed. I thought he was good with his passing. I thought he was direct. I thought his positioning was good. His tackling was good. He moved into certain positions. Obviously, it's really difficult when you watch a stream and there's absolutely no replays whatsoever and you're kind of just taking it all in as it comes and goes. But from what the first kind of initial reaction was, I thought he was good, competent. He wasn't overawed by the situation. He slotted into the team very well and he looked very comfortable alongside Thomas Partey. But let me know what you think in the chat box of Sambi Lokonga's performance. Omar says Lokonga looked good. Wow says Sambi was solid, didn't put a foot wrong. Matt G says Lokonga looked really confident on the ball. I'm hopeful when you laugh. I'm hopeful about this season. I'm hopeful about every season, and then reality gets me. That's usually what happens. Jazz, thank you so much for becoming a new member. Really appreciate the support as always. You seem like a new person in the chat. I've not seen your name pop up too much, so thank you ever so much, mate, for joining the TGT group as well. Yasir says, Lokonga ball recycling was impressive. And I think that the way in which he kind of picked up the ball in those deep positions on the pitch and moved them into certain situations, either in the final third or just out into the wide areas, was really comfortable. It's what we need from the player. We need him to be more direct, and some of the passes into Smith Rowe were really good. Thomas Partey, I thought, was easily the best player on the pitch in the first half. He was fantastic. In the second half, dropped a little bit, still trying to get the ball moving with the play into Smith Rowe, and then that forced out through the next goal. But I thought that Partey was probably the standout player on the pitch by quite a distance. It was a little bit disjointed at times, and there were certain moves that didn't quite come off, but the intent and the creativity is certainly there, and we're certainly trying to force things to happen. Not too much. We're trying to force through this kind of tactical style and system that Arteta is really trying to integrate, which is clearly using the wide areas, being more incisive in the middle of the park with Smith Rowe, which did work. And I mean, it worked, ironically, when Willock came on to find the pass through to Balogun, who obviously scored his goal and Arsenal's fourth goal as well. So really positive stuff from Arsenal in that sense. I want to touch back on the Aubameyang situation. I really think that, for me anyway, Aubameyang is someone that is, as I've said, going to take some time to get up to speed because he's had a really tough season. But in the same sense, I do ultimately believe that if he can get a goal, just a single goal, that's going to be enough to kind of elevate him to that level that he needs. And he needs to kind of get that goal as soon as possible. Hopefully it'll come in one of the next pre-season games. We don't know if there's going to be another behind closed doors games as we've seen today against Millwall. I thought he was good in the game, bar the kind of the finishing, and he was obviously an amazing bicycle kick from across that came in that obviously led to Chambers tapping in the rebound. But he set up the goal as well for Pepe with a great nutmeg from Lacazette in that movement too. I thought his passing and his creativity at Aubameyang was good. It just wasn't quite there in regards to kind of that final touch and finish. That's the bit that I was a little bit obviously let down by, as we've seen recently. But I feel like he just, as soon as he gets that goal, it's just going to push him forwards. And that's all that we're going to need at this stage is him to push himself forwards and to get those key goals that we need him desperately to score. It'll be a floodgate opening moment is how I hope. The other player that I want to touch upon as well is Callum Chambers. Callum Chambers is obviously someone whose future at Arsenal doesn't look... It's not like set in stone that he's going to be here. And obviously his ability to play at centre-back and right-back means that he's a very likeable and useful player in the Arsenal squad. But when Arsenal are being linked with a £50 million centre-back in Ben White, and we are looking like if we move on Hector Bellerin, we could move for another right-back, there is the question about where does Callum Chambers fit? When is Callum Chambers going to play? Callum Chambers was class. He was absolutely brilliant today, really genuinely so good. His deliveries were excellent. I mean, the cross for Lacazette's goal was great. His running up and down that right flank was excellent. When Cedric came on and he slotted back into that centre-back position, he was absolutely competent as always. Defensively, he gets back and does a really good job. And those types of performances give me the confidence that, say Arsenal don't move on Bellerin because we're just not able to, or we don't get the bids in, or whatever. I'm happy with Chambers that he could play the games. Now, don't get me wrong. I'd love Arsenal to go and sign a quality right back, and I still feel like we need to add quality in that position and move on Cedric and Bellerin. But the thing is, I genuinely think that Chambers has shown, in not just pre-season, but at the end of last season, that second half of the last season where he played a lot of games at right back when he came back from injury, that genuinely he can play that position. And I liked him a lot, and I think he did a really good job today. And obviously, I'd love to see a top quality right back come in, but it fills me with more confidence knowing that Chambers is just, he's just a solid player that gives you a very decent performance. And I think is actually improving. If you think about it, we actually signed him from Southampton as a right back. He joined playing for Southampton as a young 18-year-old right back, and then came into Arsenal and was transitioned by Arsene Wenger into kind of this centre-back hybrid type of player, and now has gradually gravitated back out wide again because Arsenal has got a very congested centre-back area, and it's bringing back through his kind of the quality that we've seen from him in the past, and I think that's really good. Let's see what you guys are saying in the chat box in regards to Callum Chambers. George Davies says, criminally underrated. I think he's brilliant. Yasir says, and Chambers was really good. And he can play in midfield, Doug points out as well, which he can do. Played defensive midfield for Fulham for an entire season and won their player of the season there as well. So you know that he can play that role fairly well if we ever needed him to. Promise says Chambers' crossing is really good. And again, it showed with the Lacazette goal. It's not perfect. Like, you watch him in actual games, he'll have some crosses that are ridiculously bad. He's not positively spot on with all of his crossing and his deliveries, but he has the capacity to put in a ball like that. And if he can improve the consistency and the quality level of those crosses, Arsenal are going to really benefit from that. So that's awesome. Utabi says Alba was in the same position last season. He needed a goal, and when it came, he drifted away. And hopefully it's a different case this time around. Spaceman Trooper says Chambers is the first choice for sure. Wow says Chambers to start at right back. Vinny says we would be stupid to sell Chambers. Great utility man, and he's homegrown. Even if we do get an attacking right back, he can do a job in certain games. Gids points out that he's probably best as a squad player, and I wouldn't disagree. I think if the opportunity to bring in a really good right back, like a Mukiele or a Joachim Marlon, these types of players, and go and do it. But yeah, I think he's of a quality level that when we need him to start, he can start. And I think that's going to be great for Arsenal moving forward. We have a super chat from our brand new member, Jasmos, who says, I never get to watch your streams live due to the time differences, but I watch them later on in the every single morning for you. Thank you ever so much, mate, for tuning in. And on your way to work all summer long. Thank you ever so much. Really appreciate the support and joining up as a new member as well. Really do appreciate it, Jazz. And welcome to a live stream for the first time as well. Let's scroll up a little bit more and get some more thoughts. Samuel says Chambers as height and decent going forwards. Some bloke says I feel Chambers is just a yard of pace off being top quality. You do get that feeling, like it's something about kind of his stockiness, his kind of body frame. He doesn't strike you as the type of player that would be rapid. But if he had that little extra bit of burst of speed, like I'm not talking about Bellerin kind of speed. I'm talking kind of who's kind of quite pacey, but you wouldn't describe them as really rapid. Tammy Abraham's a good example. We're linked with him. I wouldn't describe Tammy Abraham as rapid, but he's fast, like he's quick. He's not Bellerin levels of quick, but Abraham. And if Chambers was that kind of level of speeds, like a Max Aarons kind of speed, then maybe you'd be able to get a really good right back out of him and a kind of a complete right back. But when you're lacking that and you need to be quick to make those overlapping runs and find that space in behind, ultimately you're always going to need that to be the top level. If you look across kind of Europe and the top teams, the right backs are usually absolutely blistering, and it's only the real world-class level ones. And you think of players like Azpilicueta, who's not necessarily rapid, but has played at a very high level at right back and done it exceedingly well, mainly because of his versatility, allowing him also to play at right centre back and a back three, which Chambers can also do. There are kind of, now I think about it, there are quite a few similarities, I suppose, between Azpilicueta and Callum Chambers. And maybe if Callum Chambers had like the technical ability of Azpilicueta, he could have really been up there. And there's still a chance that he could, you never know, he could ever reach that stage. He's got time. He's still only, 26? So he's got loads of time still to develop and improve. And I still look at it very much as a decent investment at £16 million if it was at the time. We've got a decent player. And if it wasn't for injury, and a big injury at that, maybe we'd be seeing a really top-class Callum Chambers by now. AP says, why is Willock not given a chance? I believe Willock is... there's two reasons why. There's one, we know that he was carrying an injury in Scotland, so that may be the reason as to why he wasn't in the squad. And the other reason is simply because, obviously, we didn't go to America because some members of the travelling party, as it was described, tested positive. Hector Bellerin wasn't there, as far as I was aware, and Joe Willock wasn't either. So it's possible that those two players were part of the group that tested positive. But alternatively, it could also be an injury. But I can guarantee you, if they were fit, or rather specifically Joe Willock, if he was fit, he would have been in the squad. So I don't think you need to be too concerned about that one. Brian Slade says, Dennis Zakaria, so pleased to hear that he's been mentioned as a potential signing. Quality, in my honest opinion. He's asked to leave Borussia Mönchengladbach. I just find it a bit odd that we would sign the player that Granit Xhaka is currently keeping out of the issue that I have with that one personally. While you're all here, please do, if you haven't already, we are going to answer a fair few more of your questions for the next few minutes or so, so do not go anywhere. Make sure you dropped a like on the video and subscribe to the channel if you're new, and if you would really like to show some appreciation for the channel and support it, all you need to do is go onto your Twitter or go onto the Football Content Awards website and please vote for the Gooner Talk as #BestClubCreator. Thank you ever so much to everyone that has already sent their votes in. There's been so many of you doing it. I really, really, really appreciate it. I'm trying to like and respond to as many of the tweets I'm seeing as possible. But thank you ever so much for everyone that's voted so far. The information about how to vote is rolling across the bottom of the screen now. And there is a link to it in the description as well. So please drop us a vote. Amandeep says, any updates on how Lokonga played? We talked about this a little bit earlier on in the show, so you may want to scroll back. But in short, he was very competent, very good, did not look out of place whatsoever. How do you guys feel about Lacazette's performance, considering the fact, of course, that he has been a player that's been linked with a possible move away from Arsenal, and we think about him as a French striker that hasn't necessarily got that homegrown value, so he's only going to go for around £15 million with a year left on his deal. That's the quoted price that we've seen in the media over the last few days. When he's on the pitch and when he gets those chances, the thing about when he gets those chances is that he often takes them. His conversion rate is great. And when you actually give him a chance, I mean, he had a better conversion rate than Harry Kane last season in terms of the shots that he had and the shots that he converted. He is a very clinical striker. And it's just the other aspects of his game at times, I think, that do let him down. Sometimes he can be a bit careless in possession. Sometimes he doesn't necessarily have the footballing brain to make the right ball at the right time. But when he's a striker at the end of the day, and if you're going to be able to get him into those positions where he can score those goals, I think that giving him a year extension rather than, say, spending £40 million on a Tammy Abraham, I don't really see the benefit beyond obviously bringing in a younger and homegrown striker. But when there isn't that many options in striking positions in the market right now, I feel like giving Lacazette a 1-year extension and maybe assessing the striker situation when him and Aubameyang have both got a year left on their deal in the summer of 2022, that's probably, for me, a better time to talk about bringing in a striker. But I'd love to know what you guys think in the chat box. Vishal says, a lot of fans don't rate Lacazette. Good hold-up play, good conversion, nice passing as well. His ability to provide is what is so underrated. His link-up play is good. It's not like Olivier Giroud levels. Like Olivier Giroud was one of his best parts of his game was his link-up play and how he would hold the ball up. And Lacazette does hold the ball up, but he can be careless in possession at times, especially in dangerous positions, even in his own half. And we've unfortunately conceded at times from the ball being given away by him near the halfway line. So that's part of his game that he would need to improve. But at 30 years of age, you can't really be talking about Lacazette improving certain parts of his game, really. He's very much established in what we know, what we're going to get from him. Glenn says, when we look at Lacaz's numbers, we need to remember that he rarely gets a prolonged run in the team and almost never gets given 90 minutes. And that's why it's really important to look at the stats averaged across those 90 minutes. The conversion rate is really, really impressive. Oliver says, why does Lacazette leave it to others when he can shoot himself? If he feels he overplays it when he has decent opportunities. And maybe that's why his chance, the amount of chances he has to shoot are so low. And that's why the shot kind of rate is so low, is because he tries to create maybe too much. Is he a victim of the system? Is he a victim of the tactics that we're kind of using and playing? Is that the reason as to why we're not necessarily seeing Lacazette at the top of his game? Because he's not being instructed to shoot enough. The old classic question of, should we shoot more? Does that apply to Lacazette? And I think there's a strong argument to suggest that, yes, he maybe should be taking more chances and shots at goal. Promise says, Tom, tell me if I'm crazy. You're crazy. But I feel like Willock doesn't fit this current Arsenal style of play. Well, the thing is about Joe Willock is that for me, I think he's a number 8 that loves to get into the box. I don't think he's got the creativity side of his game to be an out-and-out number 10. I think he's more of your kind of goal-scorer number 8. And I'm not sure that we're going to be playing the system for that. I think that Arteta is very married to this idea of playing 4-2-3-1. And we certainly played that today. And Smith Rowe getting into that number 10 position was great. And seeing players coming off the flanks, beating Nketiah in the first half with Pepe and obviously Aubameyang playing up top on his own at the start. Those types of things looked great. But I just don't. Yeah, I agree. I don't really see where you'd fit him in if you're going to play 4-2-3-1 because he's not going to get in ahead of Smith Rowe. He's not defensively sound enough and positionally disciplined enough to play alongside Thomas Partey in that number 6 role. And they are. I mean, if they're not number 8 positions. The kind of the 2 pivot roles in a 4-2-3-1. I wouldn't describe that as a number 8 out and out. You might have kind of you're more closer to a number 6 and one more closer to a number 8, but I wouldn't describe either of them as an out-and-out 6 or an 8 position, to be honest. So, and I don't think Joe Willock has that defensive side of his game. Speaking of which, really impressed with Emile Smith-Rowe's tracking back in that game. Really got back, tackled, got his kind of really pressed and worked for that shirt and that position and that kind of starting place in the team. And that was a big, big sign to me that clearly the coaching of Arteta on the position on this kind of thing was great, and seeing that was fantastic. Please don't spam the chat; you will be timed out. Matt Gordon says, "Why would we go for an attacking fullback when Arteta only wants one fullback to push forward? Callum fits that role perfectly." Matt, I think it's important to remember that just because you have a system where one fullback's supposed to push, it doesn't mean that you can't have an alternating situation. You can have a situation whereby if you're on the right flank, Tierney stays more reserved, and then the right-hand side player pushes up at that time. And I think it's about being more fluid. I think you saw Tierney push up a lot more because we specifically chose, or rather Arteta specifically chose, Callum Chambers for this game. I think that's probably why you saw, in this sense, Tierney being a lot more proactive. But I take your point, but I think that if we were to sign more of an attacking right-sided fullback, then we would see an alternation in the kind of way in which we attack with our fullbacks. PAPP says, Tom, can you become a yearly member instead of monthly? There's no option, I'm afraid, PAPP, for yearly things. Apologies. YouTube doesn't work that way, I'm afraid. T. Irving says, I didn't see the game. Was we playing a 4-4-2? Well, we didn't in the first half. We were definitely 4-2-3-1 with Nketiah playing kind of wide, Aubameyang in the middle, and them kind of being pretty fluid in about where they played. Smith Rowe was in the 10. Pepe was on the right. Second half, it kind of stayed like that. Then we made some changes, and then it skewed into more of a 4-4-2-ish kind of style, but then was quite fluid still with a front 3. It's really difficult to kind of nail down a specific formation that we're playing because it is just so fluid and it changes so much. But yeah, I don't think you need to read too much into formations in pre-season, mainly because we have 4 strikers at the moment in Lacazette, Aubameyang, Nketiah, and following Balogun that all need to get minutes. And one of the best ways to get their minutes is to play a system with 2 strikers. So I would not read into that anywhere near enough during pre-season. Answer says, I believe the only way that Willock stays with us this season is if Arteta is willing to mix things up between 4-2-3-1 and 4-3-3 systems. What do you think? I think that ultimately Joe Willock does suit the 4-3-3 much better than the 4-2-3-1. But the problem is that quite simply, we're just not going to see that system really used because he really has married this idea of using a number 10 and Emile Smith-Rowe being that number 10, or maybe one that we bring in and Smith-Rowe playing in a wider area as well. So I just don't think there's a place right now for Joe Willock, which sucks for him. And it sucks for the fact that we've got maybe a really important talent. And that's why I'm open to the idea of saying, look, give him a contract extension, send him on loan to Newcastle. If not, you'd need a big bid. And it would need to be a decent, sizable bid of at least 25 plus to probably 25 max is realistic for Joe Willock. So I don't know who's going to pay that because Newcastle don't have the money to pay that. But I think the best thing to do for him, considering the formation that we're looking like we're going to play, considering the players and the positions that are being linked to, contract extension, and then the loan to Newcastle, maybe a decent way out of that route as well. Tom, did you see a reflection on the pitch? What Arteta's trying to do? Oh, sorry, I was trying to think. Did I see a reflection on the pitch? Metaphors. Antonio says, Tom, did you see a reflection on the pitch of what Arteta is trying to do in training? The big thing that I noticed about the game was the high press. Was when Millwall were in possession, Arsenal were on them. We were desperately trying to work 110% of the time, 100% of the time. And that was what was really key to how we dominated the game, is we gave them no breathing space. As soon as they got into possession, we squeezed them out. We forced them into errors. They made misplaced passes. We recovered possession and we hit them hard and we hit them fast. The the way in which we transitioned the ball from our defensive third to their defensive third was quick, much quicker than we've previously seen in the Premier League. And that's clearly something that we're trying to work on, is the speed at which we move the ball from our own half to the opposition, something that we struggled to do at a really kind of high-paced rate in last season. And much of the reasons why teams were able to deal with our attacks so simply is because we just weren't quick enough. And for me, speed is what the difference is between the top teams and the ones that are going to finish 8th in the table. If you can do things at the top level in a very quick, fast way, you're going to see success. Whether it's pressing, whether it's build-up play, whether it's counter-attacking, as long as you've got speed and pace and drive and real kind of accuracy combined with that, you are going to dominate. And that's, I think, the style that Arteta's kind of changing things to right now. Oliver, thank you so much, mate, for supporting the channel and becoming a member. Really appreciate the support, fella. And if you have indeed joined up as an expert member or a TGT ambassador, you can also join our Discord server as well. I'll make sure that there is already a link in the community tab for current TGT expert members and TGT ambassadors. So make sure you check that out. Yes, it says our pressing game was really impressive in the last 2 matches. It definitely was. Nathan says, need to get the Maddison deal over the line from Ian Wright's nephew. Well, thank you, Nathan, ever so much for tuning in. Really appreciate that. For me, I don't really think that in regards to Maddison, it's a realistic situation. I don't think it's a realistic signing. I think that Leicester will hold out for a big fee that Arsenal, I just don't think are going to be willing to go to. So trust me, I'm on board with you, Nathan. I'd love Maddison to come in. I just don't think it's a realistic signing at this stage. Wow says, who is your ideal centre mid to partner for Partey? In regards to who we've currently got in the team, probably Lokonga right now. But in regards to who we could sign, I'd love to see Basuma at Arsenal. It just goes beyond. It's not really that much of a debate about who I'd want. I'd want Basuma to come in. If it isn't Basuma, I like Ruben Neves. I think I like Toyin Koopmeiners at AZ Alkmaar. I think that's a really good option. I love Fabian Ruiz at Napoli. I think he's another good option. Mikel Moreno at Real Sociedad. I think he's another good option. There are players. Marcel Sabitzer has transitioned into more of a number 8 that could partner Thomas Partey too. So there is lots of options. Tolisso, the Emirates faithful says, is another option that has become available supposedly too. He is another option that Arsenal could look at. Locatelli would be great, Yazir, and trust me, I'm on board with you, but just again, I don't think that's realistic. Again, another PAPB. Calvin Phillips would be great, just not realistic at this stage in Palinha. I think you mean Palinha, false manager at Sporting. Obviously played for Portugal in the Euros. He is a very, very highly rated player, but looked upon by Wolves as their natural replacement, actually, for Ruben Neves, should he go. Honda says, what about Tavares? In regards to being a partner to Partey, I don't think so. I don't think that's a realistic option. In regards to if you were asking about how he played, he was progressive. He was tenacious. He tried to get up the pitch where possible. It looks like a decent signing, despite all of the reservations. But this is pre-season, and we will see how he performs on the biggest of stages in the Premier League, should he get an opportunity. Ramsey says, would you give Mainsley a try in midfield? Look, I think we've given him opportunities, lots of opportunities. I'm just not sure that Mainsley is cut out in the long term to be an Arsenal quality centre midfielder. I think he can be a Premier League quality centre midfielder. I just don't think it's going to be at the level necessary for us anyway to really kind of, push forward with that position. And that's the problem. So I think you should see Ben White announced probably next week. So be patient. Don't worry. It will be done. Anyway, we're going to wrap things up there. Please, as I've said already, information's on the bottom of your screen, rolling straight across. Please do throw a vote onto your socials. You can either go to the Football Content Awards website and vote for us there, or you can just simply go onto Twitter and tweet the relevant tweet, which is I am voting for @the Gooner Talk TV in the @the_FCAs now. For best club creator. Please do show your support and appreciation for the hard work that goes into putting these shows on for you every single day, just by dropping a like and by dropping a vote. And if you're new, please subscribe. And if you would like to help support the channel even further and become a member like some fantastic people have done today, you can by hitting that join button too, and then you get to join a lot of extra stuff like our Discord server and everything else that goes with it too. So thank you all so much, guys, for tuning in. I will see you tomorrow morning for, obviously, the transfer show at 8 a.m. UK time. It's been a pleasure to speak to you guys as always. See you again very, very soon. And as always, up the arse.